most people, are price controls good? They'd say no. And yet we just kind of accept price controls on money or time. Like we have
Yeah.
a centralized setter of like short-term rates that then trickles through for a lot of other economic implications. And then partially where they're setting prices, indirectly they're setting like wage growth, which is like, it could be one of those things we look back decades later and say, was that really weird economic policy? I'm in the camp that is not really in favor of, purposely kind of trying to maintain centralized interest rates, even though it's obviously a pretty universal feature of the current system.
How are you thinking about the fact that central bank Fed balance sheet is relevant again, and what are some of the insights you're getting from there?
So I think X is going to be fun in the coming weeks and months,
Yeah, I know.
because it'll be a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack,
Yeah.
I think. For context, back in 2019, it was Twitter at the time, we had it was the September 2019 repo spike, and that was one of those like little economic crises that most people didn't have to worry about, but of course anyone in macro trading on FinTwit at the time was freaking out about. And you had kind of competing narratives at the time. And the reason that's relevant is because this is somewhat similar to that, just less compressed. Which is so back then you had some people, you kind of the bears saying, oh, something broke in the banking system. Banks don't trust each other. This is going to portend something large. Now, ironically, months later, we did get COVID, but this was all before then. So it was like some major bank might have failed or this, why, and then the other side was kind of saying this is just a technical issue. It's not a big deal. It's no, it's not too much debt. It's not any of that. And there was a camp that was like Luke Rome and myself and some others saying it's not really either of those two things. It's basically there's a liquidity shortage, but it's not ultimately a repo problem. It's basically a T-bill oversupply problem relative to other types of liquidity that were available. And so although the Fed was putting out the fire by doing repo activities, that they were very likely going to go to start permanently buying treasuries. And a couple weeks later, in like mid-October, they did exactly that. So this was all pre-COVID, before all that hyper stimulus. They ended their quantitative tightening. They went back to kind of persistent balance sheet increases. Now they didn't want to call it QE because one, it was not for the purpose of economic stimulation, and two, they were not buying longer end of the curve. They were buying T-bills. And it was basically to just keep banks liquid so that they could meet all of their liquidity, kind of requirements while continuing to lend.